Good afternoon, all of you. Taking forward the activities of Urban October, and the Environmental Information Awareness and Capacity Building Program Centers of School of Planning and Architecture and Sulabh International have organized this virtual roundtable on urban waste management and its implications on lifestyle for environment. The theme of Urban October has been act local to glow global. Lifestyle for environment is another activity which will help us to formulate our practices and actions, to take forward these actions to address environmental issues. Talking about lifestyle for environment, our Honorable Prime Minister last year in the COP mentioned lifestyle for environment is need of the hour to solve the challenge faced by our planet using human-centric collective efforts. Collective efforts and robust action that further sustainable development. Mission Life borrows from the past, operates in the present, and focuses on the future. Reduce, reuse, and recycle are the concepts woven into our life. The circular economy has been an integral part of our culture and lifestyle. When technology and tradition mix, the vision of life is taken forward. Our planet is one. Our efforts have been many. One earth, many efforts. So, with these thoughts, the mission is taken forward. Today, our Honorable Prime Minister, with the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, launched this scheme at the Statue of Unity in Kevadia. While launching this scheme, mentioned Mission Life integrates the power of people for the safety of this earth and teaches them to utilize the resources further and better. Mission Life makes the fight against climate change a democratic one in which everyone can contribute according to their ability. Mission Life believes that environment can be protected by changing your lifestyle. And Mission Life inspires us that we all can do a lot in our everyday life that will protect the environment. With these thoughts and with this mission with which our entire country wants to address this global issue, we at our humble level want to understand and make awareness in this area. I thank Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, of which we have become a part as one of the environmental information awareness, capacity building and livelihood program. So under these areas, we have organized this, and we have two very prominent speakers in this event who have worked for a very long time in this sector. Sulabh International, which is known to everyone, were one of the pioneers in sanitation and health and hygiene. NIUA has been one of the biggest arm of the government in taking forward the sanitation programs, which all of us, it has become one of a major activity of sanitation, the Swachh Bharat Mission. So, with this brief introduction, I would now invite Ms. Paramita Dattade, who is a planner with over 25 years of experience in urban development. She heads the Resources and Waste Unit at National Institute of Urban Affairs and is the program lead for the Sustainable Cities and Water and Sanitation program. She has spearheaded the program on capacity building in sanitation and waste management as part of Swachh Bharat Mission 1 for the Government of India. She has worked to bridge the gap between infrastructure policy and practice through the South Asian Urban Knowledge Hub. She has helped create innovation labs in urban wash solutions in Indian cities. Paramita has worked with several ministries in India and with internationally funded projects of UNIDO, ADB, UNDP, SIDA, USAID, World Bank, and with leading links at think tanks like Center for Policy Research and Center for Science and Environment. She comes here to share her vast experience, first hand knowledge, and also, I would say, circular economy, and perhaps is best suited or to someone who will tell us how we can live, how, and also she must have observed the lifestyle changes while taking forward these missions and how we should monitor whether we are progressing in this mission. So, with this, I now invite you, Paramita, to please make your presentation as well as your share your thoughts with us.
Thank you,
Thanking
Meenakshi.
you for sparing the time.
Thank you so much, Meenakshi ma'am. For it's very humbling to get such a long introduction from you. You have been my teacher, and my first job was at Envis. So this opportunity is very special for me. So coming to today's topic of discussion, let me take a step back and just to see where are we, where is our country in terms of waste management. And given my experience of working with Swachh Bharat Mission, um, there's there's a lot of discussion around technology. So I'll try to talk about what has been the contribution of people and how what has made it the Jan Andolan that we call it today. So, beginning with a little bit of number crunching, most of us are aware that India generates a lot of solid waste, which is about 1.4 lakhs tons per day, and out of which, thanks to the efforts of ULBs under the Swachh Bharat mission, almost 95% of it is collected, and we are able to process 70% of it. Um, and we are still working a lot on it. The whole country is geared up to work very fast on it. And we have to remediate a huge amount of waste that has been dumped in our dump sites. We have very few sanitary landfills. And our focus has been a lot on collection and somewhat on treatment, but remediation of dump sites and complete treatment is where we are faced with the challenge that we are faced with right now. And we hear a lot about the fact that 70% of India hasn't been built yet. Even then, today we are collecting and recycling about 150 million tons of C&D waste generated every year, and this is going to really grow fast. According to the Central Pollution Control Board, India generated more than 10 lakh tons of e-waste in the financial year 1920, and only 10% of this is getting collected annually. So according to the latest data that I could gather from the MOHUA website and some reports of the CPCB, it says that 1100, more than 1100 ULBs are practicing door-to-door collection, ULB as in urban local bodies, out of which more than 1400 are collecting waste segregated at the source. And if there was an annual report by the CPCB which says that only Chhattisgarh is the only state that is processing all the waste it is generating. And there are very few states that have been able to reclaim their downside. The work is on, and that's why SBM 2.0 has that focus. So, in a nutshell, the challenges that is faced by a country today is that we have to remediate all our downsides, we have to take care of the legacy waste. And in order to do all this, we need to create a lot of infrastructure, both at the centralized and the decentralized level, which has to be very context specific. Now, if we look at, what is it that is so special about Swachh Bharat Mission? I would say that it has made a paradigm shift in waste management from a conventional approach to something more proactive. Uh, so I'll take a few points to illustrate that. The conventional approach was that waste is considered as garbage. SBM has made us understand that it is a resource. Waste is a resource. There has been a lot of focus on awareness creation, IEC tools, posters, pamphlets, and this has been going on for many years. What is what is it that SBM has done is it has focused on community mobilization and different forms of engagement. So it has used mid media, it has used digital media, it has used mass media, and this combination is what has made it the people's movement that it is today. In SBN, there was more focus on decentralized waste management compared to more centralized efforts earlier. And the role of government has been looked at as a facilitator instead of a provider of services as was happening earlier. And it is also emphasizing on 3 hours that ma'am just spoke about. In fact, now we are talking about 5 hours and 7 hours. It has focused a lot on segregation of waste at source. Earlier, that was not there. There has been a lot of effort in recognizing and in making efforts in converging the informal rag pickers and the informal workers that are very, very important part of this system. So moving forward, it is working a lot towards financially self-sustainable approaches. Of course, we have a long way to go from here as well. And therefore, that is why it is being called as a Jan Andolan. It is this mission that has made a transformative change, whether it is lakhs of Swachhagris that are volunteering. It has witnessed a lot of empowerment of women, where thousands of Rani mysteries have been empowered. Swachhata Didis were recognized, particularly during the COVID time. It has broken gender stereotypes. It has broken silos between different ministries. It has empowered the ministries and people to work together, and it has also facilitated a lot of convergence between different programs like Swachh Bharat Mission with the National Urban Livelihood Mission, National Urban Health Mission, and the like. I'm focusing more on urban because that's where I've been working. Of course, a lot has happened in the rural sector as well. So the journey of Swachhata Jan Andolan so far has been tremendous and very, very remarkable. There have been, as per the data on the website of MOHUA, it says that more than 20 crore citizens have been engaged directly. There have been various multimedia campaigns. Many brand ambassadors have been recognized, and there has been a lot of tailor-made and consistent interpersonal communication that has gone into making this program a success. Let me take you through the example of Chhattisgarh, where all the waste is getting processed. They have got a lot of awards. What is it that makes Chhattisgarh so unique? It is a state centrally located in our country and has more than 169 cities with an average population of 40,000 to 50,000. Initially, they focused a lot on centralized model, but after seeing the success of Ambikapur, the state realized decentralization is the way to go. Chhattisgarh is one state where they have empowered 9,200 women SHG members who have been engaged in sanitation work, recognized as Swachhata Didis, and these have been the pillars of the Swachhata model. And this is the reason why the state has been topping, the charts in the last few Swachh Sarvekshans, which is the annual survey of cleanliness, and it is one of Asia's largest survey of this type. So what Chhattisgarh did is they did not engage in mass communication right from the start. They began from the household, and because their belief is that cleanliness starts from the household. So there they began with interpersonal communication. So the observation by the leaders there was that people don't read newspapers nowadays. So they tried to tap in WhatsApp. They estimated that there are 3,500 WhatsApp groups in Chhattisgarh, and each group had about 256 members. So, it has a tremendous power to reach out to people through interpersonal means. So, first they thought that, okay, if we start doing these, making messages around Swachhata in WhatsApp, people will just not open their WhatsApp. So, they started slowly through triggers like first, the transfer orders, sanction orders, and relevant news which people would actually open their WhatsApp to and read. Then once people got a hang of this group and they started opening this group regularly, they slowly started trickling IC messages related to Swachhata. So people got involved and engaged and they became a part of it. So uh, the main message one can draw from Chhattisgarh example is that they focused on people talking to people and built the system around that. And they use social media to their greatest advantage. They even not only created WhatsApp group, they created memes, reels, promos, and this because India has a huge youth population, the demographic dividend as they call, and they tapped into that. So, what was the paradigm shift? The shift was from mass campaign to interpersonal campaign to behavior change, some city to community to individual profiling, shift from ULB official to opinion leader based communication, and from conventional media to digital media. So, in a nutshell, this was the paradigm shift demonstrated by Chhattisgarh. The state also created a pool of more than 4,000, to be specific, 4,100 public representatives. They had regular meetings with them, they had regular exposure visits, and these people became the force irrespective of party lines. Chhattisgarh currently has about 523 active social media handles. Another interesting concept in Chhattisgarh was that of Mitan clubs. Mitan in Chhattisgarh means friend. And every ULB has a Mitan club, and each Mitan club has about 10 members. So, this was the whole workforce, the kind of soldiers of Swachhata that they created. And there was a scheme regarding Mitan clubs, which was called Mitan Club Yojana. And about 25,000 Indian rupees was given to each Mitan club. This was regarding all government schemes, but they also put in SBM related schemes for this. So they utilize this fund very creatively and effectively. So the strategy was to create a pool of people, to create these whole soldiers of Swachhata Didis, and people recognized the Swachhata Didis because they came to them every day, they celebrated festivals together, the kids knew them, and that was the whole concept about uh, I would say, the most important part of success that Chhattisgarh is seeing today. There was another scheme called Swachhata Shringar Yojana, where the community toilet and public toilets were upgraded, and that's how it became ODF plus. And NGOs and SHGs were engaged by the government for this purpose. And some kind of seed funding given by the government, but it is the whole convergence of working of NGOs and SHGs together that actually led to the success of the Swachhata Shringar Yojana. Then they also created a IEC plan, and the plans were annual, reviewed every year to tap into the young population, that is the school going children. They created a mascot called Chota Bheem. So Chota Bheem is recognized not only by children but with adults alike. So it was very popular. So it was Chota Bheem that would go to schools, explain the messages, have activities. Then they created a lot of IC material. A coffee table book on Swachhata Didis were published, and Didis were facilitated for their work. So in essence, what did they do? They were, according to what their leaders say, they did samjhaya. That is, there were multiple information booklets, pamphlets, banners, wordings, etc. that was created. Sikhaya was education, trainings, workshops, street plays, camps were conducted, and Bhagidar Banaya, that is communication through social media initiatives, BCC activities, competition. Citizens were made part of various schemes. So, Samjhaya, Sikhaya, and Bhagidar Banaya are the key to the success of this whole program. And of course, then they also had a lot of competitions. They had SBM poster competition, cleanest market competition, cleanest hotel, hospital, name it, and they had a competition. So if when we are looking at TripAdvisor rating for a hotel, if the hotel had a certificate saying that we are the cleanest hotel, that automatically draws them towards it. So it was a win-win situation for both. Then they had clinic, Swachhatam Hotel, Swachhatam Mohalla. Everybody was given certificates, and this really encouraged people. Then they did a lot of wall paintings. That is where they used mass media. So from interpersonal, they gradually moved into mass media. Then Kabar Se Jugaad was another thing they started. Stuff made from recycled products, chairs, tables, tires were displayed in the public places like parks, and that's how people actually, saw things happening on ground. Zero waste wedding was something that was promoted by him, though this was started initially by Bangalore, and a very famous activist and Dr. Meenakshi and Dr. Vani Murthy. They actually had a video, and it's a very beautiful video. I'd like to share it with you, ma'am, whenever you feel like you can go through it, where the whole concept was to create a green event. And Chhattisgarh took this on and encouraged young people to go in for zero waste weddings. Then there was a lot of continuous capacity building, not once, but continuous capacity buildings of self-help groups. Then there was something called DG Chinhari, which is something like a DG locker that they created, and where Swachhata Didis would take a selfie and log on to this app to give their attendance. So that was one part. This, of course, is being practiced in many states. But what did Chhattisgarh do differently? They did a convergence of scheme here. So here, when they are taking the attendance, their basic information would be there, and the convergence of schemes like Mukhya Mantri Swasthya Yojana, where they could get diagnostic services, consultations, discounted medicines. All this was merged into this DG Chinhari concept that they created. Uh, they now went one step further. They have created a IEC experience zone in Raipur, near Raipur. It's a place called Patan, where it's a learning, experiential learning kind of a place that anybody can go, where good practices not only of Chhattisgarh but from other parts of India are displayed, and people can actually go. And it's something like we have this. Kidzania in Delhi. I don't know if some of you would have been there, where the kids are made to experience how is it that when you go to a bank or a court, and how it works, or even fun activities like Domino's Pizza. Something similar it has been created in Patan for IC experience related to Swachhata. So the key learnings from the first phase of SBM has been that IEC and BCC are critical in raising awareness, changing in terms of attitude, and inculcating sustained engagement of Swachhata. There has been a lot of partnerships that have been created, whether it's between ministries or between multilateral and bilateral organizations and government, or between NGOs and SHGs and government. So this is something that has been encouraged, and this is what SBM 2.0 is also taking forward. The capacities of states, ULBs, also needs to be enhanced, but in a more novel manner with newer techniques. So that is being encouraged. That has been a key learning. So there is some kind of a framework. A national behavior change communication framework for garbage-free cities has been launched by MOA, and it is available on the website. This framework basically talks about a streamlined approach for IC and BCC. IC as in information, education, communication, and behavior change communication. It talks about enhanced capacities of states and ULBs on new mediums of engagement. It is a guidance for states to take this whole thing forward. So the key mediums of engagement that this framework talks about is community mobilization, strategic partnerships, use of mid-media. Mid-media is something like traditional media, like in many states, there are some traditional forms of communication. For example, in Rajasthan, puppet shows are very popular. So that's an example of mid media. So it has been observed that mid media uh, has had a lot of impact in states where things have been successful. So a lot of focus has been given on mid media. Then, of course, digital media, and lastly, mass media. So accordingly, the budgeting that is available for communication under SBM 2.0 has been tailor-made in such a way that those who are accessing the funds from the government, 40% has to be through in the area of interpersonal communication, 30% for mid-media, and 15% each for mass media and digital media. This is based on all the evidence-based experience that has come out of SBM 1.0. So I would say that the life mission, which is talking about transitioning from a throwaway culture to a circular economy, is just the right. This is just the right timing for it because SBM has already created all the base, and it nudges people to the 5 Rs: refuse, reduce, recycle, repurpose, refurbish in their daily lives. So people have actually got a hang of it. So this mission only tries to strengthen that. And it also tries to leverage the strength of social media and nurture a global framework of pro-planet people, the P3s that it is trying to promulgate. Therefore, this mission seeks to create an ecosystem that will reinforce and enable environmental friendly behaviors to be self-sustainable. So it expands from the waste sector to other sectors like water, transport, food, electricity, to be specific. So just to give you a little examples of stuff that has already happened under SBM and even otherwise, an example is there is an app called Pom Pom Trash to Cash. So this was created by a startup where you can sell anything through this remotely recyclable app and set a price per kg for it. You just need to set up a request and a team from Pom Pom will come to collect it. Then they send it off to waste industries that collect such waste and recycle and reuse. Of course, the Kabadiwala system is there, but this is a little more formalized way of doing it, and they are integrating it with the Kabadiwalas. Then there is something called Ecolect. Ecolect can help you when you do not know what you want to do with your old laptops or phones. So this is a Bangalore-based startup that launched this app with an aim to manage the rising e-waste problem in our city. Then there is another startup called Encasia, which again is Bangalore based, and this team ties up with vendors who buy scrap and list the prices on the app. And then they have a free doorstep service in the selected areas of Bangalore. All you need to do is to pre-book the service and choose a time for the available slots. So these are some small efforts that young people are doing, and I am very motivated, and I believe that this is the way to go. And the life mission is only further enhancing and motivating people to take such ideas
नहीं उधर
forward.
ट्रैफिक जाम बहुत
It
ज्यादा है
is
ना, फोन की
focusing on
वजह से।
individual behaviors. It is talking about co-creating globally, and it is also talking about
नहीं मैं
leveraging
फिर बस
local
कार से
cultures.
जाऊंगी।
So, with that said, I'd like to stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, Paramita. It makes me feel strike while when the iron is hot. So the Swachh Bharat mission, as you said, has created this ecosystem. And while you were sharing your experiences and giving us the thing you mentioned about more than 5 hours, 7 hours, if I got it right. Could you just elaborate a little more on it, please? You are muted. You're muted.
Oh, sorry, ma'am. I think I also lost the connection in between. I think you told me to mention about the 7 hours, right, ma'am?
Hmm.
Yeah. So first R is that you have to refuse. That one has to refuse using stuff that is not required. For example, when single-use plastic is the best example that I can think of right now. That instead of going to a market without a thela, just keep a thela in your purse. There are a lot of foldable ones available, so you're refusing to use single-use plastic. Then is reduce. So you're reducing the use of resources that are not required. Then then you're reusing. So about reusing, it has been in our culture already, but we have been going the Western way and we have forgotten. So this life mission is only encouraging us to go back to our roots. So reusing, say for example, um, uh, a lot of old clothes that we generate in a house. Our grandmothers used to make these chatais out of it. You know, they used to make thin strands out of the borders of saris and make these beautiful doormats out of it. So that's reuse. That's an example of reuse. Then recycle, we have been doing a lot of recycling. All these jars that we used to get, you know, those jam jars and bottles through which a lot of food comes. So recycling it, and then refurbish. An example of refurbish is that you know, we have to design out waste. So an example that I can take right now is the mobile phones. So every day new models are coming in and we all get hooked on to buying new models. Okay, that's very nice because technology is improving every day and we need to, you know, we need to get better. But what the whole circular economy debate is talking about is that you make it modular. For example, you have a mobile for which you need an upgrade. There can be certain parts of the mobile which can be changed for you to upgrade into a more sophisticated system. So these are some of the examples of all the R's. I think I've spoken of all the R's. If I've missed anything, maybe you can remind me.
Yeah, no, no. Thank you very much for this very informative, and also since you have been part and parcel and have been watching this grow right from, as you said, there this element of interpersonal was very important in the Chhattisgarh example, and that's where the mission life is also trying to uh, in what to say, nudge people that people are the ones who will bring the change. And no wonder the Chhattisgarh example, because they started with the people, it has been one of the most successful examples. Thank you very much. I see Dr. N.B. Mazumdar. Thank you, sir, for taking out your time and agreeing to participate in this virtual roundtable. Dr. N.B., if I may, Dr. N.B. Majumdar is an international waste management expert. He has been involved with waste management and on site sanitation since 3.5 decades in India and other countries. Currently, he is the honorary chairman of the International Academy of Environmental Sanitation and Public Health, and he joined Sulabh International Social Service Organization as honorary director in April 2016. He retired from HUDCO in the year 2005 as head of the waste management cell and chief of projects involved with financing infrastructure projects. He has worked as Chief Technical Officer and Chief Technical Advisor at ILFS Environmental Infrastructure and Services Limited before that. During this time, very important uh, areas which he has been involved with and has been advising and has been also instrumental in bringing about the change is in the composting, aerobic windrow, static pile vermicomposting, waste to energy by conversion of the RDF to electric power. And during this period, the first project for management of C&D waste in India was developed and installed in Delhi. Simultaneously, he handled several multi-country assignments by being consultant with the ADB, Asian Development Plan, Global Environmental Sustainability Japan, and then he worked with TERI. He has worked with Sulabh International Institute of Technical Research, where during this in his period, public toilets linked with biogas. He was instrumental in bringing DWARPs into India. He has worked as consultant to the World Health Organization in China and has been a consultant with Rotary International. He was chairman of the expert committee for standardization of RDF and has been a member of technology evaluation committee of solid and liquid waste and water supply set by MOA in October 2018. He was also chairman of the expert committee of MOA for preparing manual for municipal solid waste management. Uh, Also, he was member to the Interministerial Task Force on Integrated Plant Nutrient Management using city compost. So, with this, there has been a long list of publications and documents which he has authored. With this, sir, we would like to hear from you. With your vast experience in almost all dimensions of waste management, and today our Honorable Prime Minister has launched the life mission at Kevadia in Gujarat. At EIACP, we felt this is the time and when we have to also enlighten ourselves and also empower ourselves to take forward this mission because this has in it a component of transforming us to pro planet. Not that we may be doing it in small efforts, but to make it much more meaningful, much more focused. So with this, I would request you to please share your views and your insights. Thank you, sir, for taking out. So you're muted actually. If you can unmute yourself.
Sure. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it's a great pleasure to be here. And you see, I'm really grateful for the organizers to give me this opportunity of interacting with all of you. And I've had, old links with SPA as well. Possibly we would have met somewhere when Professor Maitra was is the director, and even before that, since then, I think since 2000, no, I think 1997, 8 or so, I used to go to give lectures and interact with your students and postgraduate students since a long time. And I see Paramita ji from NIUA. With NIUA also, I had a very long association. Even the present director is long known to me, or Chetan, who was the earlier director. So this is all a known word. Of course, for a very old person, many things come back into a close loop. Anyway, so as you have mentioned that I've had a bit of experience, and I find that actually the world is becoming more and more competitive. particularly with respect to availability of and access to natural resources. This this is true for materials. This is true for energy. This is true for infrastructure, for everything. So we have to brace for greater and greater competition. And on the one hand, the population is increasing. On the other hand, aspirations of people, whether in industrialized countries or in developing countries, it's increasing day by day. Consumerism is increasing. So that is another factor which is really getting in, particularly with respect to uh, creation of waste and waste of different types. You see, earlier when I had started, let's say, my career, the waste used to be much simpler. Today, it's much more complex with lot more different kinds of materials. For example, the multi-layer plastics, the multi-layer, combo of plastics and metal. You have carbon fiber to chip in. So everywhere you have challenges. Now, creation of material is one thing. I have 20 minutes, right? Up to
Yes.
3:30.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
if that is fine.
You can take little extra also.
Okay,
Mm.
so what's happening? You see, while developing the products, the scientists, the technologists, the commercial, the whole commercial world, they are very, very enthusiastic. A lot of investment is coming in development of new products and attracting us so that we could get into the use of particular materials. So these are mostly combo materials. You see, on this day, if you look around you, you would find very, very few pure material of any one kind. They are all combo of different kinds. Even plastics, there are hundreds of different kinds of plastics and combinations of thereof. So therefore, the situation is pretty equal. Now, when it comes to waste, it is just the opposite. Developing a product, there is a huge interest, there is a huge enthusiasm because there is huge money also. But when we come down to the end of life of these things, the interest wanes, there is very little money. So finally, we try to say this is there's also some kind of gold, green gold, brown gold, and so on. But actually, there are difficulties. As Meenakshi ji read out my CV, you see, I have had chance to do financing for more than a decade, both uh, debt as well as equity financing. Then I had more than 11 years on the ground with waste management, dirtying my hand and feet and being there in front of uh, lakhs of tons of waste on huge compost plants, dump sites, including our great Gazipur, the symbol of waste management. I've been seeing Gazipur since 1996. That is when I had visited it long time and first time. Anyway, so what do we do? Now in this short time, what I thought is I will flag certain issues which are, to my mind, which are more frequent or more challenging at this point of time. The first thing which comes to my mind is the plastic waste, which is being debated, I think, one of the most at this point of time. Right now, if we want to see plastic waste and the gravity that it's putting before us, I would suggest that we just look at two areas. One is the dump sites like Gazipur. Okay, so Gazipur today has more than 14 million tons of waste, and out of that, maybe about 5-6% would be plastic, maybe a little less because a lot of it is rummaged and used out, but it is there. And if you want plastic in a slightly purer stage, you have to look at the marine litter. Now, the marine litter has become such a big reality, you know. So the example of the GPGP is being given every time. GPGP is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. It is 1.6 million square kilometers, which is three times, three times the size of Spain. Imagine what you do with that. And it's not only floating, it is much of it has sunk also. It has, impacted negatively the marine life, the aquatic marine life, the living marine life everywhere. But one, what can we do in this situation? We cannot just come out of plastic because plastic is such a great material. It has come out after a lot of research, a lot of investment, and it is extremely useful for the mankind and for others as well. But the problem is when the end of life or the waste plastic is just rejected in the most irresponsible manner and is not taken up by those who are supposed to take care of it. I mean, the local bodies. You see, if we look at our constitution, in the 12th schedule, it is very clearly mentioned that the local bodies are mandated with management of the waste material, whether it is municipal solid waste or some other kinds of waste. So it is there in the 12th schedule. So we have to see how the citizens and the local bodies can come together. Now, when I was just joining in, I was hearing Paromitaji was mentioning a lot of examples of what we as citizens can do, how we can mitigate the problems in our own small way. That is also very, very necessary. But I would like to mention here that the ULBs, whether it is a municipal corporation or a small Gram Panchayat, they have a huge responsibility. And without them acting properly, the problem cannot be solved. Right? So I can just mention a simple two-pronged mantra. Very simple. But unfortunately, we are not doing that also. Number one, don't litter. I mean, each of us decide that we won't litter, the situation would be completely different. The second is whatever waste we generate, let us let us store in a segregated manner. So two mantras only, don't litter and segregated storage. That's all. The rest has to be done by the local body. Of course, there are many citizens, many people who are enthusiastic about it. I myself had done a lot long back, of course, uh, for about 2 years from my home. I was in a first floor apartment and nothing went out of my apartment except the milk pouches and the bulbs, electric bulbs, and of course the batteries, because I could not find anything more useful about it. The paper we used, we recycled in by way of papier machine, the biodegradable waste we composted and composted in window sills because we were living in a first floor apartment. We didn't have access to any ground, right? And we were successful. We could do that. At that point of time, I'm talking of early 80s. At that point of time, the plastic waste recycling, etc., was not really happening very effectively. So we had to just, give it after washing and all. We, uh, you know, every month we used to tie them up and then give it out. So it is possible. And the papier mache also, I still have one or two examples in my household where, with the help of some kitchenware, we used to do things, mold different kinds of, small statue or something. I mean, it's your own, so it can be done. But in a broader manner, the municipality has to come in, otherwise it cannot happen. Now coming back to plastic waste, you see there is a low hanging fruit. That is, it can be used. I mean, the most
हाँ वो वहीं पे ही है
the
वो
most
चली गई
talked
थी फिर
about
उनको पता
plastic,
वापस आ जाओ पर
the
वो वहीं पे
light
खड़ी है
plastic
कोई
or
बात
the
नहीं
single-use plastic
थैंक यू
that can be very well used in our blacktop roads. And the Central Pollution Control Board of India had, in the year 2006, uh, published a guideline. So that guideline had two very clear procedures as to how it can be used. Simple procedures. One is melt the plastic along with the tar. Second, melt the plastic and coat the aggregate, that is the chips, which go into making of a road with that molten plastic, and then go ahead with the making of blacktop road, just as that. This simple step makes the road much more durable because you see the blacktop roads are water-bound macadam. That is the main constituent. So when the rain falls, what happens? The inside of the road, once the water percolates, it becomes weak, and the road, breaks, and we have potholes, and we have all that, halla gulla about mismanagement and all that. That can be to a great extent rectified if the same city's plastic waste could be used in making its own roads or repairing its own roads. Nothing difficult, it can be done. Right. So this is a simple way to do. The other way of, conversion of plastic into useful product is by thermal waste. So it can be converted into liquid fuel. Now, normally it is thought that it is some kind of a diesel. Actually, it is, a mix of different liquid hydrocarbons, and you cannot use that crude material as such. You cannot use it in a automobile, for example. You can at best you can use it in a factory or in a just for burning something. Okay, so for actually making it useful, what is required is fractionation. Now, fractionation cannot be done in a small scale. So, two ways could be there. One is that large number of small projects are there. Let's say a 500 kg to 1 ton projects of conversion into liquid fuel, and there is one special fractionation plant in that city or between 10 cities, for example, which fractionates that crude oil, and then the fractions that are available that can be used for different purposes. Otherwise, in small scale, it's just not possible. Right. Another waste which is usually being neglected at this point of time is construction and demolition waste. Now, construction and demolition waste has come rather late in this country. In the rule of 2000, it was not even mentioned, just two three lines. But in the year 2016, a new rule has come up, and we had in between, as Dr. Dhote had mentioned, between 2019, 2009 to 2014, we had developed this technology in a place called Burari in Delhi. And we first developed the dry process and then the wet process because this was a private company and we had to make it commercially viable. Right. So to make it commercially viable, we had to see which product was actually saleable in the market. You see, the normal classical GSP, ground sub-base for making roads, it was not really getting sold. So therefore, ultimately, we uh, came into the manufactured sand, and we could get a good market for that. And even we set up a plant for RMC in our plant, inside the plant, ready mix concrete. And then there was good revenue accrual from that. That was the only plan. Composting, we don't get a positive revenue accrual. It's very difficult, very difficult. And that's why the government has come up with this 1500 rupees per ton of compost for supporting as a price support system. But CND waste, it can be done. So C&D waste should be properly managed. Now, its storage, collection, and processing, in the rule itself, lots of things have been mentioned, and there is manual also where it is mentioned. We had published the solid waste management manual also, wherein it is also given. So I would request each and every ULB to come forward and use this, which is over everything else, is our lack of planning capability. Now, if we look at the waste management scenario, I mean, that strikes me the most. Planning capability is lacking, and it's not easy. You see, we go through tender. Any government, any public sector thing, tender has to come. So therefore, we have to have people who can prepare good tenders. And who can prepare good tenders? Who have a good grip on this subject. And for that, good training is also required. And that is also one of the issues, good training. You see, if we look at the large number of training programs which is happening, recently I was in a conference where it was mentioned that such training programs, even by the top institutions, top training institutions of this country, including NIUA, KILA, Hyderabad's Engineering Staff College, and so on. So they were facing number one, financing issue or funding issue. Number two, attendance issue. Imagine. So that means training is there, but you don't get attendees. Why? So we have to think. In fact, I had mentioned in that conference also that it's a serious issue and the authorities should think over it very seriously as to why these training programs are not really happening properly. On the other hand, I see, I get also emails in which training programs, 4-day training programs, 3,35,000. Okay, it's management kind of. But much more essential, which is essential to our lives, to our well-being, there people are not interested. So we have to really very seriously think about it and try to improve the quality of training in a way that it is more hands-on job and it is really impactful, so that a person who, when after getting the training, when the person returns to one's department or academia, his or her peers and seniors feel that yes, there is a difference in this guy. So he can perform better, he has a better understanding, and he has really dirtied his hand and known actually as to what is happening in the waste management. So we have to really think about those points as well. And of course, I've taken a lot of time. I would again like to mention about the circularity of which we are debating everywhere. Now, circularity is very important, is critical, or even we can call it mission critical for our survival. For our survival, if we don't really go for circular economy, we would get submerged in not only waste, but in deficit of water, in deficit of so many other natural resources, and ultimately, possibly, we will destroy ourselves. So, the circularity in economy, in our approach, should be the key. And I was talking about a tender. You see, one thing every time comes to my mind again and again is that, you see, when judging a tender, we look at NPV, the net present value of the cost. We compare them. In my very, very, strong opinion, I think the thing should be life cycle cost and not the NPV. If the life cycle cost is taken, because whenever I mention anything, as in, for any tender or for any project, my simple formula is don't look at the day of the commissioning. Look at the day your concession agreement is going to end, and you have to get back. I mean, uh, hand over the asset back to the municipality or to whoever. Look at that day. If it is 15 years, 20 years, if we keep that in our mind, it's a completely different ball game. So the tender, the people who pay the tender, they should know exactly. For example, from my own practical experience, I'm telling you, for a waste management project, in the seventh to eighth year, you would require a major replacement and repair. Again, in the 11th, 12th year, you would again require it. In the 15th, 16th year, you will again require it. And in the meantime, around 10 to 12 years, the technology would have increased, would have changed. So your technology would become less competitive. That is again a nightmare. So a tender should have all these points ingrained into this. Then only the projects would be successful. Thank you very much. I have taken, I think, about 12 minutes more.
Okay, no, thank you, sir. Because the formal systems that are there, how to tweak them to incorporate these aspects of circularity as well as making them more effective. I think you have managed to elaborate on that. And while you were speaking, when you were talking about training, especially, that when a person goes for a training and comes back, the organization should feel so our training should also include because if we are talking, I mean, we are traversing a path from where the nation. I mean, we when we had the Earth Summit, we talked about think globally, act locally. Now we are saying act local to go global. So it's like it has to be back and forth. I mean, we are wanting to nudge the people in the lifestyle mission because people are party to this entire thing. It affects us. The impacts of mismanagement of waste is impacting people. So this mission will have to put everyone into action. It's not that just because it is centered on lifestyle, the responsibility of ULBs or the things are less. It is equally important. I think you did flag that. But it is everyone, it's every link in the chain has to be active. And then that, because there are, with everything which Paramita in her field, it's everybody has something to contribute to the mission, to make the mission successful. So, leaving no one behind is a term that is used. Leaving no one's inputs behind. I think with that spirit, this mission is would be able to. I mean, the vision that our Prime Minister and the vision. I mean, this is something which was there in our culture. We have to read. We have to bring it back. It's something that is lie. It has gone back. We have to bring it to the forefront because we will be impacted immensely by it, and that is something which, as EIACP center, we have to not only make people aware, we have to practice, and we have to take it forward in whichever way it so that we can reach our goals. So, with this, since we have been a little above time, if anyone has a quick reaction, I see our national program officer, Mr. Rajneesh, and many people from the NVIS Secretariat very much there. So, if anybody has anything to say, we would be happy just for a minute or two before I formally close the session. Any quick? I think there is the mic is mute. Uh, Anyone? If not, then I would now thank Dr. N.V. Majumdar, Paramita Dev, for giving us the insights from your vast experience and the schemes that you have been involved. I take this opportunity to thank Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change and the NVIS Secretariat for giving us this opportunity to have this interaction and participate in this mission and take it forward. Thank you all the participants, our Envis team, to be part.
Thank you very much.